Hey all, good afternoon everyone. So today in this session we are going to see how to install Ansible and how to set up Ansible master and worker node architecture. Okay, so yeah, we have a lot of operating systems. We have different flavors of operating systems in Linux. But for my environment, I'm going to choose Ansible master and Ansible worker as Ubuntu operating systems. Okay, so I love to work on Ubuntu. I love to choose Ubuntu out of all the Linux flavors. So let's get started with the lab. So I'm going to click on launch instance. So when you click on launch instance, the same, you have to give all the settings that is required for you. I'm going to give Ansible servers as a name, and I'm going to choose Ubuntu. I'm going to choose the flavor of Ubuntu is 20.04 and it is free tier eligible. T2 micro is sufficient for me. I'm going to choose a key pair, which is Ubuntu test. And I'm going to set up my network for the server. I'm going to use a default VPC. I don't have any subnet preferences for now. So I'm going to create a security group, which is Ansible security group. I'm going to give the same in the description. Fine. So I'm going to set up the inbound roles. We need SSH protocol, which should be enabled on this particular server. And it is already enabled. We don't need to change anything. So if you need to have any other protocols which has to be enabled, like port 8080, port 80, port 9090. So all this, you can add a security group here. You can set up all traffic. So guys, I recommend, I just want to intimate you, it's a recommendation and it's a best practice. You should not use all traffic when you're working for enterprise applications. Keep that in mind, okay? So I'm just using all traffic for only for learning purpose. So I'm going to use it as my IP and I'm going to scroll up. So I'm going with the default volume and I don't want any advanced details. I need two servers, one for the master and one for the worker. So here we have number of instances. I'm going to give 2 and okay. So this is T2 micro and this is Ubuntu 20 and yeah, we are good with all the settings. I'm going with default 8 GB. So I'm going to launch the instance. So the booting process is going on. So we can check the launch log. It will be initializing the request. It creates the security groups. It creates the rules and it goes for the launch initiation, which is succeeded. Okay, so we have 2 instances created. So let's go to the instance dashboard and check for the 2 instances. So those are in pending state. So the state has to be running if you want to use any server that you create in AWS. Oops, the servers are running. Okay, fine. So we are going to change the names accordingly. I'm going to name it as master save, and I'm going to name it as node save. Okay, so this is master and this is node. Node, it is a worker node. Okay, so by default, we consider it as a node. So my 2 missions are up and running. Let me connect with the master quickly. So here I'm going to use, click on connect, SSH. I'm going to use this command. So I'll go to a tool called bash. I'm going to use git bash. And I'll go to the folder where my keys resided. That was in downloads. I'm going to hit on, I'll paste the command and I will log into the server. Yes. Yes, we logged into Ubuntu server. So first in the first, let's change the host name over here. Sudo host name. I'll change it as Ansible master. Okay. Oops, that was misspelled. Okay, that's fine. So if you want this host name to be updated in place of this IP address, just exit one more time and execute the sign in command. So you will be able to see the host name will be updated to Ansible master. Okay, so let's clear the screen, clear, and okay, so let's update the APT repository. So APT is a package manager for the Ubuntu servers. So we are going to use sudo apt-get update-y. Okay, so which basically updates the existing apt packages which is there inside the Ubuntu server. It seems similar to like how you are updating your Windows laptop once you logged in. All right, so it has completed its upgrade process. So now we need to install Ansible on top of this Ubuntu, right? So you have to understand that the basic requirement to work with Ansible is you need to have Ansible, you need to have Python 2.7 and above version, which is already installed in your server because Ansible was written in Python language. Since it is a dependency for it, you need to have Python installed in the server. Okay, that's fine. Let's check whether I have Python in my laptop or not, in my virtual machine or not. So of course, this is a Ubuntu machine. I'm going to give Python hyphen version. Oops, I don't have any Python. Okay, let me check with Python 3. Might have Python 3. Oh, yes, I have Python 3, which is very latest version 3.8.0. So that's fine. We are good to go with installation of Ansible. So I'm going to execute a command with a sudo permissions, sudo apt-get. So in Linux, guys, apt-get is a package manager which installs any packages that is required for your server. So I'm going to install Ansible with apt-get. So Ansible-y. Yes, see, Ansible is getting installed. So along with Ansible, it is not only getting Ansible itself, it is getting Python autocomplete, Python crypto, Python DNS, Python Teams, Python Kerbos. So a lot of options it is getting installed, right? So we need to, since Ansible has a dependency of Python, it will download all these packages. Right. So these are the packages where Ansible is one of them. So Ansible is getting installed in it. So all these are additional packages. Okay. So fine, we are good to go. So we have Ansible installed in it. So let's check the Ansible version. Okay. So Ansible hyphen version. Hey, yes. So we have Ansible installed and we have ansible.cfg file. We have all the configuration files which we can see in etc and Ansible folders. So this is the path for configuration files and the Python version that it is using is 3.8. The Ansible version is 2.9. The executable location of Ansible is user bin Ansible. Okay. So if you want to know that where your Ansible is executing, just type which Ansible, WHICH, which Ansible. You'll be able to see user bin Ansible, right? Okay, good. Ansible was installed on top of Ubuntu machine. So how can Ansible interact with its slave machine, right? So that's very important. Okay, right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to reset my password of Ubuntu to set up a connection between master and slave. So what is the command for doing that? I'm going to use sudo passwd. I'm going to give the name Ubuntu. I'll set up a short and sweet password. Done. The password was updated. Okay, same way, let's log into the slave mission and let's update the password for Ubuntu there as well. So because we need to connect to this node, connect over here and go to another, open another bash. Let's go to the download folder and shift insert. I'm going to log in into the slave server, right? Okay, let's update the host name as we did for master, sudo hostname Ansible worker. So that's the naming convention that I'm going to get. Then exit one more time and log in one more time. The host name will be updated. You can see the updated host name over there. Fine, we are good to go. The other setting that we need to do over here is change the Ubuntu password. Sudo passwd Ubuntu, set up the password, which is short and sweet again. Done. but always I recommend to set up a strong password. Okay, so now, so the other setting that we need to do over here, we have a service called SSHD, right? To check the status of it, sudo systemctl status SSHD. You can see SSHD is active and running. So, but here you need to make some configuration where you are going to set up a passwordless authentication for your master and worker server. Okay. Of course, without setting up a passwordless authentication, it will work with a password. That is the reason we have reset the password over here. But every time when you're working with the playbooks or when you're working with ad hoc commands, it is not a good practice to give password on the terminal, right? So to set up a passwordless authentication, we are going to modify some settings in the SSH config file. So let's see how can we do that. So just press Control C. So I came out of the server. I'm on my terminal. I'll just use sudo vim/etc ansible, not ansible. So it will be SSH, and I will check for SSHD config file. And when you press enter, it will open the config file and search for a keyword called password. Enter. So you will be able to see a password authentication out here, and it is set to be no, and make it as yes. Okay. Yes. Fine. Okay, so that's good. We are good to go. Save this file and exit. Now, what is the next step that we need to do is restart your SSH. Sudo systemctl restart SSHD. Done. We are good to go. Now we have our SSHD service which is running. Check the status of it. Yes, it is running. Okay, so let's jump into the worker server again. So we have workers master server, which is over here. So what we are going to do is I'm going to set up a master and slave architecture for a username called Ubuntu. So that is the reason I have reset the password of Ubuntu. If you want to preferably set up for a new custom user, you can add the user into the Linux box with a command called user add, and you can give your custom user that I'll call it as test permission denied. Use sudo user add test. You can add it, and in the same way you have to set a password sudo passwd. So guys, what is the difference between using sudo and without sudo? Without sudo, your Ubuntu user will not have super user privileges. If you use sudo in front of every command, Ubuntu user can also do the administrative tasks, but it's not a process or it's not a best practice. Okay. So now I'm going to set up a password for the user. Same way, if you want to set a password for the user and you create the user in the same way, please do it with your custom users. Now I'm going to go with Ubuntu users, which is default. Right, so I'm in Ansible master server. The first step to set up connectivity between these two servers is generate a SSH key. SSH key is nothing but you will get a two pairs of keys, a pair of keys, which is a public and which is a private, and public and private will interconnect with each other and they will validate their keys and then the connection established. So let's see how to do that. I'm going to use a command called ssh-keygen, which basically generates the SSH keys for the particular user, right? Hit enter, enter, enter. So you will be able to see home ubuntu.ssh idrsa, which is a private key, and you're going to see another key which extends with a pub, right? So which is a public key. So we have those two keys generated in this particular path. So let's see where we are in. I'm in present working directory is home/Ubuntu, the Ubuntu home directory, and I need to go for .ssh folder. So let's do that, cd.ssh, and let's do ls. I can see there are three files, which is authorized keys, idrsa, idrsa.pub. So authorized keys, guys, whenever you get a new key from the server, that key will be stored in the server and it validates, it uses these authorized keys for the validation purpose, whether we are going to connect into the correct server or not. All these details, the keys of the server details, will be stored in authorized keys. So now we have generated our SSH keys, which is for Ubuntu server. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a command, which is ssh-copy-id, and the user is Ubuntu @ and I'm going to the worker node and check for the IP address of the worker node, host name -I, not you, I, that's a mistype. So take the IP address, go to the master node and paste the IP address over here. Done, we are good. Yes. So it is asking the password, which is of this IP address, right? So we are in Ansible master, but it is asking the password of this IP address, which is Ansible worker node. Just give the password and you are good to go. A key has been added into your Ansible worker node. So let's try with SSH. SSH, I'm going to use the same Ubuntu user with the IP address, which is displaying over here. It is the slave server's IP address with which we have established the connection. Enter. Yes, we are in Ansible worker. So we are good to go. So now let's start with Ansible automation. Okay, so we have our Ansible SSH established between master and worker node. The one thing which we left with is setting up our inventory. So what is inventory? Inventory is nothing but a file which resides in etc Ansible directory. So go for etc and Ansible. And if you do ls over here, you will be able to see a file with the name of hosts, right? Hosts. If you just see the content inside this hosts file, you'll be able to see some configurations. And this is read only. Only super user can edit this because it is in etc directory, where etc directory consists of all the package configuration files. So now what I'm going to do, escape, Q and quit. And I'm going to open this file with the sudo permissions. Sudo and -hosts, hit enter. Now you are able to edit it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is go to the insert mode, press I letter on your keyboard. It will go to the insert mode in the VM editor and enter the IP address of that worker server in this node. Okay. So what is the IP address of the worker server? Let's grab the IP address of the worker server, go here, copy it, and go here, paste over here. Done. We are good to go. Escape and save. Okay. So yes, we have added our inventory file. So now let's do a ping test, whether our Ansible master is able to reach to the worker or not. So which is very important. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to execute an Ansible command with a module called ping. We will discuss about what are the modules, what are the ad hoc commands, what are the playbooks in the coming sessions. But for now, let's see how I'm going to do the ping test. So Ansible, and I'm going to use all, and I'm going to use -m to indicate I'm going to use a module, and the module I'm going to use is ping. Okay, when you hit enter, you will be able to see a response saying that, hey, you have pinged me, and I'm going to send you a pong. Okay, which means the success has been established. We have a successful connection which is established from Ansible master to this node, which is an Ansible worker. So that's all, guys. We have completed Ansible setup with master and worker node. In the coming sessions, we will see some automations with ad hoc tasks and playbooks. Thank you so much for your support. If you do like my content, please do share and subscribe. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye-bye.